and gastrointestinal nematodes infections. Infections by gastrointestinal nematodes are very common in grazing cattle. Among gastrointestinal nematode species, Ostartagia ostartagi is the most pathogenic. You can see on the slide its parasite cycle. The eggs excreting in the feces involve into the effective L3 larval stage of the grass. L3 larvae infested by the bovine involve into adult worms in the abomasum. The duration of the external phase is strongly influenced by environment, especially temperature. The size of the larval population on the paddocks and the infestation pressure increase from one parasite cycle to the next. 3 cohorts of females born respectively in 2016, 17, and 18 were followed during 2 years. The first grazing season when young and adult animals were grazing together, and a second grazing season after weaning. For each grazing season, blood and fecal samples were individually collected 4 times at turnout in June, in September, and at housing. Individual serum pepsinogen concentration indicating digestive lesion relative to the abomasum worm numbers. The gastrointestinal nematode fecal egg counts were determined. Individual serum anti-Ostartagia antibody levels were determined with the ELISA kit. The parasite models were used to calculate for each cohort and each year the maximum number of larval generation in the different plots as a proxy for the pasture and fertility level. The model takes into account local temperature and grazing management. Reproduction indicators, age at first calving, number of inseminations, age at first calving are recorded. Each animals were weighed at birth and at regular intervals thereafter until 2 years of age. Dairy weight gain were calculated every 3rd month. The female have generally high average growth throughout these 2 years, especially during the grazing months in green. At housing around 9 months old, growth decreased, especially for cohort 2 and 3, corresponding also to the weaning period. The 2018 summer and autumn were particularly dry. This was reflected in the reduced growth of females, as you can see in weight value. At 15 months old, the weight target of 375 kilograms was reached to inseminate for a first calving and 24 months old, while this average of 15 months old was 295 kilograms from 2005 to 2015 before introducing the cow-calf running system in this farm. Before the implementation of Foster cow-calf system, all females used to calves at 3 years old, with calving period only in spring. The growth of heifer raised with the nurse cows enabled early calving. The success rate at first insemination increased with years. Half of the heifer have their first calving before 24 months and in cohort 2 and 3. There was a strong difference between purebred animals, with 30% of their first calving before 20 months old, and crossbred animals, with this value was 72%. So, the study indicated that being with the nurse cow stimulates better growth, which is made possible to anticipate the target age at first calving by 1 year in this farm. Throughout this study, no disease was observed in the animals, and no antibiotic treatment was given. During the first 2 grazing seasons, females were managed on rotation grazing. The grazing season lasts an average of 234 days. According to the parasite sim, heifer was exposed to the 5th and 6th larval generation in first and grazing season. In the first and second grazing season, heifer were considered as immunized against gastrointestinal nematode at the beginning of the second grazing season, between early April and early May. average pepsinogen value did not exceed 2.0 tyrosine units, regardless of cohort and sampling point, except for the second grazing season of cohort 1. Regarding to the Ostertaja ELISA, during the first grazing season, the mean value globally increased. This remained very low, less than 0.8 for the cohort 3, but were higher for the cohort 2. During the second grazing season, the values were rather constant around 1. Regarding fecal end count, in the first grazing season, the values were highest at P2 and P3 and then decreased at P4. For the second grazing season, the value remained low except at P1 for the cohort 2. The dryness also altered the parasite indicators of the cohort 3 during the first grazing season and may have decreased contact with gastrointestinal nematode and the establishment of the immunity later in the second grazing season, as you can see on the cohort 2. In our study, the foster co-system implied a long duration of the first grazing season for dairy replacement females, more than 200 days, and this was confirmed by an estimated large number of larval generation on pasture. However, the three main indicators related to gastrointestinal nematode infection were low compared to the value obtained with classic weed system and suggested a relatively low contact with infective larvae. This persistent low value obtained during the second grazing seasons indicated the development of the immunity during the beginning of the second grazing seasons. It can therefore be hypothesized that nurse cow made a play to protective role for calves against gastrointestinal nematode infection. On the one hand, by intake a lot of larvae and increasing few eggs, nurse cows should probably reduce the level of infections of the pasture by a dilution effect. On the other hand, ingestion of milk by calves during their grazing period could have an adverse effect of parasite infection, and it has been demonstrated in lamb, and could limit the intake of infective larvae. Our study provides argument in favor of foster co-calf training system set up in this experimental farm. This study suggested female calves could benefit from the long first grazing season, which a protective effect of the nurse cow against gastrointestinal nematode, while having a strong establishment of immunity in the second grazing season. This innovating management also stimulated rapid growth, allowing an early calve at first calving. The results will be completed by an ongoing study using the same protocol in 20 organic farms in France. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Caroline, for your presentation. So we switch to questions which has been raised in the chat. Chris, please.
Yeah, sure. So Spiridula asks, do you know what species of gastrointestinal nematode you had?
What species? It's Ostertaja ostertagi. It's yes. It's the main. It's the most present in France.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
May I just ask what you said? You continue. What is planned now? Still this year or next year?
I have my ongoing study. It's the end. So now I have to write paper and analyze data for 1 year.
Okay, that's important.
There's another good question on the chat, Toto. That's how much time did the animals spend in each paddock before they were rotated? And did you apply any treatments to the paddocks? Was there any mowing or mulching of the pasture?
I have. It's often rotational grazing management. It depends on each farm, but it can be half a day until from half a day and I don't know, 2 days or maybe more, 1 week. It depends on each farm, but it's mostly in rotating management, and
Okay.
that can come back in the same paddock or not. It can be only just one time at each paddock. It depends. And the second question is with treatment.
Yeah. So was there any management of the grass other than by the cows? Did the farmers mow the paddocks or mulch the grass when the cows weren't present?
They don't have. Yes, they can. They can mulch the pasture to is like a treatment. I don't really know if they do that. I think the heifer often in the is not close to the farm because it's easy to manage these animals not close, and maybe they can wash on the pasture before the animals can go in this pasture.
Okay,
I don't know. It depends.
Okay, thank you very much, Caroline and Chris. So we go on with a presentation from Eva Salomon. She's from a Swedish research station or research institute about ammonia emissions. So please open your presentation and you can start. Put